Good morning! Well, we are well and truly into September now, and I've just been going through all of my seeds at home and the seeds up here. So at the end of last week I said I was going to do a bit of a rundown of what I'm planning to sow going into winter. Well, now is the moment. So I've just been sorting it through. There is still some stuff that I'm going to be sowing for eating like before the end of the year. But there's also stuff that I'm sowing now which is going to be for very early spring, and that's a lot of the stuff that's going to be going into the polytunnel. What tends to happen with overwintering, if you've got a heated greenhouse or a heated polytunnel or something, then you can actually get some really pretty decent crops, stuff that doesn't need a lot of long daylight. You can get some pretty decent crops. We have no heating of any sort up here. So we're just in essentially like a cloche situation. But what I found over the last couple of years, sorry, the girls are fighting. Violet, that is Violet there, is in the midst of a takeover from Rube, who is the white one there. But instead of fighting Rube, what she's going for are the two lower ones to try and secure her place. There's a little bit of a squabble happening at the moment. Sorry, so yeah, the stuff that I'm going to be growing in the polytunnel and the greenhouse are things that I want to get established now so that they've got a bit of body to them so that they can last the winter. We won't really be doing any picking from them, a little bit, but not masses, because they're not going to be putting on any growth. But what they will do is very, very early next year, they'll take off much faster than anything else I could get sown in the spring. So we'll get like that first really early flush of crops. So this worked really well the last couple of years in the polytunnel. Actually, it wasn't the last couple of years because we had to redo the polytunnel, so there's 1 year missing in there. But previous years, it's working really, really well in the polytunnel. And some stuff which I didn't think it would work for has worked brilliantly, like spring onions. So I'm going to be getting some spring onions in today. I won't be putting these out. It was only 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, I planted the last lot that are going to be growing outdoors. So I sowed them in modules, got them out about 3 weeks ago, and hopefully we've still got time to get a good picking off them. They should be okay. But I'm going to sow some more now, which are going to go into the polytunnel. I'm doing my two favourite varieties. I've got Lilia, the purple one, and Ishikura, they get from Grown Local. Just great. One's white, one's purple. You can't ask for more than that. They did go a little bit, I wouldn't say mouldy, but they had quite a lot of mildewy type stuff on them over winter last year. And I ummed and ahed about whether I was going to whip them out or not. I was just thinking, oh, do I just leave them? I ended up just leaving them. I would definitely hold my hand up and say more out of just inaction rather than any kind of method. But actually what happened is as soon as that weather warmed up, all the mildew disappeared and we had fantastic, really early spring onions. So do not fret when the mould appears on the spring onions. They will pull through, or they should pull through. What else am I going to be growing purely in the polytunnel? Oh, lamb's lettuce. This is another one that did brilliantly last year. I'm going to sow this direct into the polytunnel though, along with the Mizuna. So I've just also sown my last row of Mizuna outside, green Mizuna. The red one, which I have plenty of, in fact, this is a Wilko's seed. Look at that. Oh, nostalgia. A rarity. Maybe I shouldn't open it and just keep it as an heirloom item. But the red one, I found it doesn't grow as strong. Actually, do you know what? I'm just going to go out and say it. This is the best variety of Mizuna that I've grown. It's a Frankie's seed one. Grows like an absolute trooper. Direct sown though. I've tried it going into modules and planting it out. Wasn't anywhere near as successful. Whereas the purple one grew very, very well from modules and then planted out. So yeah, I'm going to be planting this direct in the polytunnel. The ones that I sowed 2 weeks ago, same time as I put the spring onions out actually, are already about this high. So I'll get a really good couple of pickings off them before the season is out for the outdoor stuff. There's always the old tussle with the tomatoes are still going fine in the polytunnel despite the weather having dropped considerably, hence the coat chaps, and in fact the jumper. But I've mentioned before that I didn't plant any of the chili peppers in the polytunnel this year, purely because this is the crossover bit where that becomes a problem, because they go on so much longer than the tomatoes that I was having trouble growing anything underneath. Now the tomatoes are carrying on, but what I'm going to do is, because I've raised the canopy of them, the basil's still going, but that will peter out quite soon. I'm going to sow direct under the tomatoes, and then when the tomatoes are finished, I'm just going to chop them off at the base. I'm not going to pull the roots out, so that everything just stays as is, which means that I can get stuff sown now, or in this couple of weeks. Oh, that's nice, a dead slug. It needs to have got established while we've still got a little bit of warmth and a decent amount of sunlight. So I want to get these in under the tomatoes, not wait for the tomatoes to come out before I sow it. Depending on the weather, still time to get pak choi in for growing outside, unless this really is the beginning of the nosedive into winter, in which case they might struggle to establish. But if we kind of maintain a little bit of kind of rain and sun, that's ideal for them and they love it. I don't think I'm going to grow any of this in the polytunnel this year. What I found with this is that actually I could get this out so early in spring, and also we had so much greenery in there that I didn't end up picking it, and actually the temperature in the polytunnel rises quite sharply. You know, the sun picks up quite a bit of heat quite quickly, and the temperature rose and they just bolted. Oh, I just dropped it. And actually what happened is they just bolted before I ate them. So I'm going to get another sowing of these in, but these are going to be for outdoors. But I do know that for a lot of people, pak choi in the polytunnel over winter is an absolute staple, so there's still loads of time to get that in. What I am going to be growing for greens is the mustards. So the two that I grow every year, if you've been watching for more than a year, you'll know, is Green Wave and Dragon's Tongue. I really rate these two. These are actually the first two mustards that I grew. I got them off real seeds, and initially put off by the term mustard greens, obviously, because that doesn't actually conjure something very nice, but they are delicious. And these were wildly successful in the polytunnel. Obviously they started off, and we did get a few pickings of them quite early, so like mid-October, before it's got really cold, into November we had some pickings, and then we just left them alone. December, January, February, halfway through February they started to go, and then just before we got the tomatoes in was like the end of the picking, so that was like the beginning of May. No, it wasn't. It was halfway through April. Sorry, that was total lie. Halfway through April. But we'd been picking these from February to April, and they were outstanding. Really good, early, just delicious greens. So I'm not going to direct sow these like I am the Mizuna. These actually grow to really quite big plants by the time, the end of the season's happened, by the time you're taking them out. They're beasts, and I find them much better to start them off in modules in the greenhouse and then get them in and give them a little bit of space. Just find they grow a lot better, whereas the Mizuna obviously is just like a hedge and it's brilliant. Personally, find these need a little bit of space, unless you're growing them for like a salad crop, in which case you can grow them really, really thickly and just keep pinching out the leaves. But I like these to grow into like proper beasts. Do you know what? I probably will put a couple of these out. They germinate very quickly. They're, like a brassica mustard seed. They germinate really, really fast, and they do kick on quite quickly. So if we do have a little bit of an extended season, which isn't guaranteed at the moment, but if we do, it's worth sticking some outside now just to see if we get a really good late crop. So what else am I going to do? Things to go outside. I'm going to get some radishes in. I've got some mooli and some black radish. Both of these are winter radish. I also have the watermelon radish that I picked up from She Grows Veg, which is also a winter radish. So I'm going to put some of those in, just in gaps between the big boy brassicas, because we've got the space in there, and it's not going to disturb anything growing around it, and we'll just see what we can get in. This is outside, not putting these in the polytunnel. So winter lettuces. The classic is this one, Arctic King. I'm showing you because it's a really good winter lettuce. They grow brilliantly. So you'd be sowing them now, they sit over winter, and then you harvest them in spring. Quite early spring actually, like March, April time. I just don't like the taste of it. I've tried a lot of different varieties of winter, like proper lettuce, not endive or any of those, which are all delicious, but not proper lettuces. Proper lettuces, I haven't found an overwintering lettuce that I like the flavour of. So if anybody's got any suggestions, throw them my way. I don't like the texture of it and I don't like the flavour of it, Arctic King, but if you do, and I know a lot of people really rate Arctic King, now is the time to be getting them in. You know these like salad mixes that you get free on magazines and stuff all the time? I'm going to try these over winter. It does say you can sow them all year round, so that's what I'm going to try. I'm going to put some pots in the greenhouse. This isn't polytunnel, this will be greenhouse. And just sow them into trays and use them as baby leaf. That is also how I'm going to grow some carrots. Great success with carrots. Was it 2 years ago or was it last year? All of the years are bleeding into one. I think it was last year. No idea. Anyway, we've got these polystyrene boxes that are quite good for sowing stuff in the greenhouse. And I sowed some carrots about now, just as a bit of a gamble really. Early spring, we had magic carrots, so I'm going to do that again. I'd choose a variety which is one of the ones that says like ideal for forcing, or an early variety like an early Nantes, any of those type, rather than the real big boys that take a very long time to get going. My favourite carrot variety, Touchant, would be perfect for this, but I don't have any. But next year, I've made the executive decision that the only carrots that I will be sowing next year, once I've used up all of my carrot seed that I've already got, is Touchant, because it is the king of carrots. So how are we doing? Is that the majority of what I'm sowing? No, there's one more thing. I'm going to get some more chard in. It is a bit late for chard that you would be growing outdoors, but I'm going to sow this specifically to go into the polytunnel. We've actually got some small perpetual spinach chard, you know, just like bog standard green thin stemmed chard. And I think what I'm going to do is transplant some of those into the polytunnel to overwinter. They're decent sized plants, but they're only about this big. They're not, like I wouldn't try and move one of the chards that's like a, you know, actually formed a proper chard plant, but these are still only about this big, so I think I'm going to transplant some of them in there, and I'm going to do the Lucullus. This has been the most successful of the polytunnel chard varieties that we've grown. It's one of the chards that I grow every year. Unfortunately this year we don't actually have any growing outside because we had slug attack on these very early and we lost all of them. It's a really beautiful vegetable and it's very large. I'd place them quite individually. I'm not going to direct sow them, they'll be in modules again, and these are going to go in the polytunnel for early spring pickings because delish. Now have I finished what I'm sowing? There are plenty of other bits and pieces you can sow. I think you can still sow Kailan, that was on the packet, but I've run out of seed of that. I think you can do spring cabbages that are going to be protected over winter. You can start Calabres really late, or particular, you know, some varieties of Calabres you can get in now. Along with the Mizuna, there's loads of those types of veg you could grow. There's choysum, Komatsuna, all of that type of veg you can still get in now. I'm limited on my seed, but like I said, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, I'm trying to use up what I've got before I rush out and buy more. I'm doing a bit of a consolidation on the old seed front because it's getting a bit ridiculous. So I'm just growing what I've got rather than growing more, but there's loads in that kind of Asian Oriental leafy brassica vegetable section. There is tons you can get in right now because they don't like the heat of the middle of summer. Now is their moment. Something I am going to try, and this is an experiment, but I was reading something the other day about growing pea shoots over winter, but instead of growing them like, you know, in a trough where you just fire up the pea shoots, they were saying that they start proper peas, or like early spring peas that you would normally start and then get genuine peas from, in their polytunnel. I think it was a greenhouse, but irrelevant, undercover nowish, and then they pick the pea shoots all the way through until they sort of stop growing, and then they leave them over winter and they just sit there, and then in the spring they come up and give them peas. So you get a double whammy rather than buying specific like a marifat pea or whatnot to get pea shoots from. I'm going to try that, so I have a couple of rows of those in the polytunnel too. It's also mega time for getting the green manure in. Now I'm sure it's this box. Is it this box that has got about 200 million field beans in? Yes, it is. This is a huge, oh, I'm not going to open my hand because they will go everywhere, but this is a huge box of field beans. So I'm going to be getting these in any of the beds that we aren't using. So a lot of this stuff is going to be harvested, and then we will have a couple of empty beds. Not as many as I would like to be getting field beans in, to be honest, because we've got so many brassicas going this year, you know, that are going to carry on over winter. But putting the field beans in the bed is just, they're my favourite of the green manures. And actually I did a whole video, back when I was doing actually like specific videos about things, I did one about green manure and I was pretty heavy on the field beans. So I will link that underneath if you're interested. I love field beans. I really rate them for a lot of reasons, and I'll be getting some of those in. Again, they grow away really happily over winter. You just need to get them established while the weather's pretty decent. That's part of the problem, really, isn't it? Is trying to get this timing right of swapping things out of beds and giving them enough time while things are still looking good. I mean, do you rip them out? Just, oh, it's just so difficult. What else do I have in that cupboard, actually? Because I was looking for turnips at home and I didn't. Oh, hello. What have I just found? Touchon. You see, now I thought I'd bought some more and I couldn't find them. Well, we're good. Okay, we've got Touchon. Right, this is obviously a treasure trove that I haven't delved into. Do we have turnips? Yes, we've got turnips. I'm going to get some turnips in, direct sowed into the polytunnel as well. I think these will be for eating this year rather than waiting till spring. We'll just get them in under a bit of protection and we'll be good to go with those. Actually, come to think of it, the bed that I sowed all of that stuff into 2 weeks ago with the spring onions and the mazuma and the rest of the spinach. The spinach that I'd started in the greenhouse has actually just completely bolted. So I've got a row of wasted space in there, really. So I'm going to pull all of that out and pick off the leaves that we can eat. And I think I'll just sow a row of turnips into that space because it's under EnviroMesh, which is very cloche-esque. It gives a similar sort of environment. So I'll get those in there. What else have we got in here? Broad beans. You can sow rocket now. We've got tons of rocket, so there's no reason for us to sow that, but you can definitely still get that in. What are these? Loads of sunflower seeds. I didn't even know we had them. No, that's good. Okay. Right, so that is basically what we're going to be sowing before the end of this month. It's quite a lot, actually, isn't it? It's quite a lot. I better go and sort my seed trays out. So this is what we showed the other day when I got the vivid. This is the vivid pak choy. This is the red choy, purple komatsuna, and oh, this is the 1,000 head kale. So that's pretty exciting. I've got what, 1, 2, 5, 6 of those, 7 of those. There's another one coming up there. So that is plenty. That's to share between Johanna and I. But yeah, I'm going to have to get a lot of these trays all sorted out and ready to go for a big sowing session. This is something else that I'm going to be putting into the polytunnel. This is Thai basil, which I've heard is actually really pretty hardy. I've never tried to keep it over winter. I'm hoping in the polytunnel, at least into the cold weather, we'll have some good Thai basil. The basil that's actually growing in there, like Genovese basil, that doesn't cope with the cold at all. So although it's looking incredibly lush and fantastic at the moment, soon we're going to have to make the decision to do a big pick of it all, make something that we can store it with, because yeah, if the weather doesn't actually improve, if we don't get any more good heat, it's a goner. Talking of getting good heat, I mean, this is the cayenne. They are absolutely covered in chilies. Not a single one of them have gone red yet, which is a bit alarming because I just don't know about the weather. But we have got some very beautiful lipstick red peppers here that are ready to be picked. We've got 3 on that plant behind me as well, which I think are ready to be taken off. Yeah, there's loads going on in here, but it's just a case of whether we're going to get the sunshine. Oh, can you see all that peach in there? Let's see if I can. You see it all? Ooh! Looking fab. We've been eating those. They are utterly delicious. Not very hot, but very, very delicious. So yeah, I do realise that really was quite a ramble. I've just been going through it all in my head of all the different ones that I want to grow, and sometimes it's quite difficult to regulate because I want to grow everything, but actually realistically we don't have a huge polytunnel. It is 3 meters by 2 meters, and it's raised beds, so it's sort of limited space rather than just growing direct into the ground. So we do have to be pretty measured and decide what we do and do not want to grow in there. The greenhouse, we have a little bit more scope. At the moment, obviously, as you've just seen, it's completely full, but those chilies won't put up with temperatures below sort of 10 degrees really in there, and we're heading that way. Having said that, I'm just going to touch wood, but the forecast says that we've got a nice bit of warm weather coming up at the end of next week, so hopefully we'll be able to get a load of stuff out, a load of stuff in. And the little clips that I've got for the side of the bed, I ordered some at a much better price, but along with the much better price came a slower delivery, so they're not going to be here until middle of next week. So I will be getting all of that out. It's just started raining again, unfortunately, which is pretty much the forecast for the rest of the day, hence we just nipped up here early. It's very soggy. So I think we're going to head off for today, get those girls inside because they hate the soggy feathers, no fun. Yeah, okay, we are going to head off. We're going to bail, chaps. Okay, we're home and we're dry, and it's a good chance to tell you about a little trip we went on yesterday evening, in fact. It was, I know at the end of last video I said that we had 2 trips to make this week, and this was the first of them, and we picked this up, which I'll tell you about in just a moment. But yeah, so really kindly we were invited to the flower festival at Strawberry Hill House, which is an incredible house. It's about 15 minutes on the bus from here. It's so close. And I mean, I went as a kid. It's one of those places that you go, you know, when you don't know what to do with the children on the on the summer holidays or something, and we've been there. But it must be 20 years since I've been, and I'd forgotten how beautiful this little house is. It's Horace Walpole's house, and I'm going to show you the pictures from the flower festival in a minute, but never mind the flowers, which were incredible. The house itself is completely bizarre, isn't it? It's amazing. It's like a set. Like, it's a really incredible, but on just like a small scale. It's really strange, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a house that you could live in today.
I mean,
if you were lucky enough. But
yeah.
Lots of rooms, but the flow of the house is really nice.
It's a beautiful house. And I mean, if you're around that way at any point, I recommend it as somewhere to go, just to have a nose around. It's magnificent. But specifically, we were invited to go along to the opening of this flower festival, which I didn't even realise they had. And it's been going, I think she said it's 7 years.
Yes.
7 years this has been going on. And this year completely sold out. It's really, really popular. And it was curated this year by Gaia Eros, who I do believe is a quite well-known flower arrangement person. What do you call a flower artist, I suppose?
Yes. Mm.
Because these weren't flower arrangements. These were something else. But I will now whisk you away to the evening, because it was absolutely magical. It's raining. Okay, we're going to try and brave it. Well, I can see the main entrance of all the flowers. Do you think? It does. Are we ever going to find it? Yeah, pretty special, wasn't it? It was such a nice evening. So I want to say thank you to Rosie, who's the girl who gave the invitation to us. So that was pretty amazing. And this is what we picked up while we were there. Believe it or not, this is apparently edible. We were told at the time. And in fact, one of the guys there picked one off the table and shoved the whole thing in his gob and ate it in one hit. So we do know that it is actually edible, but we're going to eat it now. So should we cut it in half, do you think? What should we do with it?
We'll just take a petal off.
Well, I think it's a chocolate inside the petals. It's not so much the petals that you're eating, it's what's inside, I think. I think these are real rose petals.
But you can eat them.
Yes, you can. You can eat rose petals. Okay, right, we're going to have to just rip this, I think. The knife is not Not doing the job. There we go. Right. If you could take the pole. There we go. There's your half.
Right.
Okay. She's not just shoved it straight in her mouth this time. She's actually waiting for the camera, which is a bonus. Right, let's have a go at that.
Right.
Oh, it's got jam in it. Oh, it tastes like a Jaffa cake. Jaffa cake with rose petals stuck to the outside of it. They're not rose petals, they're it's that paper that dissolves.
Oh, right.
Okay. Absolutely delicious. But so like I said, the flower festival itself, actually by the time, sorry, I should just finish eating this, shouldn't I? It tastes exactly like a Jaffa cake. Oh, it's delicious. Right. Yeah, so by the time this vlog actually comes out, the flower festival will be over because it finishes on the Sunday. But they do have another festival coming up, which is for Halloween. So I thoroughly recommend it. I can just imagine a Halloween festival in that house. Yes. Can't you? It would be absolutely perfect, and I'm going to go along to that as well. But I'll put the information and the dates and like where you get tickets and stuff underneath, because I think that'd be really good. And regardless of an actual event happening, it is so worthwhile just going and having a look around that house. Oh, that was so sweet. It's made my ears go hot. Yeah, it was brilliant. Oh, it was delicious. I can understand why he ate it in one hit. Yeah, it was good. More rain, more rain, more rain. It's it has been sunshine and showers, but at the moment it is just grey and showers, which is not quite so jolly. Nipped up here actually because we've got a couple of things to do. First thing I need to do is do a final check on that wood, because we've definitely got the right number of posts to do that chicken house. That's not in question, but I've got to work out how many joint bits that I need to buy. I mean, I've got a load of them in here, but I don't think I've got enough. I've only got 6 plates and I need at least 8. So I'm going to have to buy some more of those, but I want to do it in one purchase, you know. One purchase. The rain's supposed to be tailing off in a minute, but I've got to pick some tomatoes in the polytunnel and I've got to dig out some potatoes for dinner. I know it's not ideal potato digging weather, but you know, got to eat them, so they've got to come out the ground. Yeah, so I might start with the wood and hope the rain peters out a little bit to get those potatoes out. It's a shame, we've got some really big, good looking tomatoes coming for like the third big flush in the polytunnel at the moment, but if this weather doesn't improve, they're not going to ripen. They are not going to ripen. Chickens are going mad. Sorry about all the alarm calls. Mum's just moved their cage out so she can level the ground underneath at the back, and apparently that constitutes a complete and utter crisis. Right, so if we've got, this is the widest one, so we've got the 4 legs, 2, 3, 4, 4 in between, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, so it's going to be 8 large, 8 small. Then there's the door frame, which is going to need another 2. Okay, how many on the bottom end have we got here? So they're the inner ones. 1. Ooh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And a flat piece for the edge of the door. What do we have here? We have got Okay, I need 12, 12 and 6. So I'll get them ordered and hopefully, yeah, we'll get that sorted in those couple of dry days that we've got coming up next. Okay, so it feels a little bit like the rain isn't quite as heavy, so I think it's probably potato time. I'll probably get my jacket off as well. Well, not bad. But I think that is all we're going to do today. I am really hoping that we get better weather tomorrow because the second excursion of the week, oh God, I've got so much potato soil in my eyes. The second excursion of the week is happening tomorrow and it is an outdoors activity. You can just see Mum standing behind my head there. That's not creepy at all, is it? Hello? Everybody fingers crossed for sunshine tomorrow, although I can tell you right now it does not look likely. Good morning, chaps. Yeah, very excited this morning actually. Firstly, the sun is out, which is brilliant. Sorry about the noises you can hear. Hallie's got one of those like automated balls that rolls around the floor for her to chase and Boona, that was my foot. This is the offending item. Hey Boons. I know. Look at that tail go. She's in attack mode, but she's trying to look nonchalant. I now have puncture wounds in my foot. Yeah, sorry. Back to what we were talking about. The sun is out, which is brilliant because the forecast said it was going to be miserable and rainy all day. And I am going somewhere very exciting. I've actually got my show notes here for the Sheen Allotments, like vegetable show that they're doing this week. And I'm going to be judging the vegetable section of it. I'm really chuffed, actually. So I don't know if you remember, I can't even remember actually if we filmed it, but in the build up to Hampton, we went over to, this is another allotments in the Bragg group, and one of the girls over there was, and she's 3 people from this allotment site, put a lot of work into the Hampton garden. And we got some materials from there too, including It was supposed to be a shed door, but we used it as a fence in the garden, and that came from that site. But yeah, they have got their show today, which is exciting. And I'm just looking, so I got sent the email list of like the categories and things and all the different vegetables that they're going to be showing. Yeah, so that's where I'm heading over to this morning to go and have a look at some beautiful vegetables. Very exciting. But yeah, the whole thing I was talking about the sunshine was that, yeah, it was supposed to be rainy and horrible today, but it looks like they've absolutely lucked out because we've got perfect blue skies. Magic. Go on, Boone. You don't feel like chasing it, Boona? Yeah, so the heavens opened just as we were doing the prize giving. But, you know, the main part of it was dry, and it was such a nice day with the barbecue and the Pims and all that kind of stuff. And then just after the prize giving, about 5 minutes after that, the sun came out and it was absolutely glorious again. And so I got to take Mum on a little bit of a peruse. So we had a nose around some of the allotment sites up there, which was a lovely way to spend the afternoon. So, cheers, chaps. We are quite lucky actually that we have 2 excursions in this week's video, because we have been rained off pretty much every single day for being on the allotment, so we really didn't get a lot done. I'm pleased that I got to go through the seeds though, because now I've got an action plan. Next week's going to be very, very heavy on the sowing, because a lot of that stuff I really want to get in like now-ish rather than at the end of September and bleeding into October. It sort of has to kick on about now. So yeah, we're going to have a massive sowing session at the beginning of next week. All of those things that I mentioned on there are listed in the notes underneath the video. You know, when you click on more info, they're all listed down there. And if I've got links to where I bought them from, I've put them in there as well. Some of them I don't, I'm afraid, but if I've got them, I've put them in. And there was one thing that I missed out in there, which is a real glaring obvious one. So spinach, it is still plenty of time to sow spinach. I've just been succession sowing it like for the last couple of weeks. I keep putting a little bit more in, just direct sown into the beds, into gaps between things. And so I completely forgot to mention it because I've been doing it so much. Yeah, so I will put spinach on the bottom of that list as well. That's another one. Also in that vein, I have linked underneath. I tell you what, we've got so much information underneath this video this week. it's a bit chocker. Sorry, it's going to be a bit like an essay. But underneath all of the things to sow now is also a link to the video where I talked about the field beans and green manure in general. So I've got that under there as well. More links. I've got all the details for Strawberry Hill House under there, which was just, I enjoyed that so much. I'm not really much of a flower arrangement type. Like, I like the flowers to still be attached to the plant a lot of the time, but so many of them were dried and spectacular, and it was just a really lovely evening. And the house, the house, definitely worth a visit. I've also put the details for the Halloween event that they're putting on, which I think should just be spectacular, because the house itself has got a really strange feeling about it. Like I said earlier, it's like a set. It feels very much like it could descend into Hammer horror quite quickly. I say descend, maybe it's ascend to Hammer horror quite quickly. Yeah. So I'm quite looking forward to that, actually. That should be good. And finally, on my list of things to mention before I close off this week, potatoes. So I was digging out, this is the last of our varieties of potatoes. This year I grew Red Duke, Caledonian Pearl, Caledonian Rose and Chors Pink. This is the very last bed, which is the Chors Pinks. That's what we were digging out just yesterday. Gorgeous potato, but I tell you, the two revelations this year have been the two Caledonian ones. I'd grown Caledonian Pearl the year before and was well impressed with it, which is why I then decided to go for Caledonian Rose, which is a main crop rather than an early. What an outstanding potato Caledonian Rose is. I got them from Ian at Grown Local, and he's doing his pre-orders at the moment. So yet more links underneath, chaps, to his pre-order, because I haven't actually seen Caledonian Rose anywhere else. Cali Pearl we picked up from Chapman's, which is where we used to get our potatoes from, where you can buy lots of different varieties but very small quantities of them up there. That's where I found the Caledonian Pearl. But Cali Rose I've never seen anywhere else, and what a beautiful potato that was. It's currently taken the crown as finest potato. It's knocked Red Duke off the top. I know, it's big news, it's big news. It's big. But the only thing left to say really, chaps, is cheers. Bit of a mixed up week, but I hope we still managed to get a vaguely entertaining vlog out of it. Yeah, it's cheers to my Patreons. As always, they're the people whose names you see at the end of the vlog. They're the people who keep this show on the road. No, they keep the vlog going. So cheers, chaps. Cheers to the Monday Club. Cheers to everybody else who is watching. I hope we get a little bit more sunshine next week. Cheers, chaps. Hello. Yeah, we're actually going to the fair tomorrow, and I'm being a judge for the vegetable. Oh, she's gone. She's gone. Where did she go? Oh, in the shed.